Cheers! Welcome to MovieBitches! A special episode. This is our TIFF 2022 wrap-up, where we are going to talk about most of the movies that we saw at the Toronto International Film Festival. Some of them we are doing separate videos for, so make sure to check out the links down below in the description.
We made a playlist.
Yeah, there's a playlist, so there you go. First things first, shout out to our Patreon supporters. $5 a month gets you ad-free early access. $10 gets you access to our viewing parties. Lots of fun stuff, so go check it out. We appreciate all of your support. Second thing second, shout out to our wine sponsor, Wink. Go to trywink.com/moviebitches. You get $22 off your first month of wine. Third things third, make sure to subscribe, share, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, there you go. Click that like button. Make sure to subscribe because there's lots of videos coming out about all of these movies. So if you want to hear about them, turn on that bell. Should I start with the first one that I saw?
Sure.
Okay, great. So this one I was all excited about. One of our fans sent us the book.
What is it? Tell me more. I'm excited.
Great.
What are you talking about?
Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe.
Oh my God, that title is impossibly long.
Impossibly long. That is the name of the book, and therefore it is the name of the movie. Unfortunately, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know. I did not care for this movie.
Okay.
It suffered from the Love Simon of it all for
no.
me. Where I was like, yes, a gay romance movie of what, and it was just like, oh, self-loathing. Oh, I felt like we're going backwards. They fall in love. There's this whole thing. They're in a truck in the back of, New Mexico or wherever they are, and they're not fucking. They never fuck in this entire movie. And I was like, this clashes with my experience as a 17-year-old gay boy. Just in that it's like, what? No, they'd be horny as fuck.
Are they doing anything else?
Not really.
Up to? Just up to
Mostly talking.
Okay, so no in-between bases.
Now you know what rimming is.
There wasn't much. There was like a lot of like, oh no, I can't love you because I'm not gay, but I am gay, but I'm not gay. And I get that. I did that to my high school
girlfriend.
The pacing was far too slow. It really kind of started to feel like individual like scenes that just didn't...
Is it a sci-fi movie?
No, not at all.
So how are they saving the
discover the secrets of the universe.
Got it.
Which one could assume is gay sex. By the implication at the end of the film where they're staring up at the universe in the back of this truck and they have discovered the secrets of the universe.
That was the big secret,
Well, it's nothing very special. Try and be nice to people, avoid eating fat, read a good book every now and then, get some walking in, and try and live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations. And finally, here are some completely gratuitous pictures of penises to annoy the censors and to hopefully spark some sort of controversy, which it seems the only way these days to get the jaded, video-sated public off their fucking asses and back in the sodding cinema.
That's the meaning of life. It wasn't.
The secret of life is not butter.
The number
it's
42,
gay sex.
it's,
No. Number 17.
The spread eagle.
Great.
He had it coming.
Do they rim each other?
No, there's no rimming in this movie.
What?
One of my notes is just, where is the fucking?
Now you know what rimming is.
To be fair, I don't think I knew, well, maybe I knew what rimming was in high school only because of Queer as Folk, where he says, now you know what rimming is.
What I'm saying. When does it take place?
Fair. 90s,
okay,
New
so
Mexico.
Now this has completely changed the entire narrative, and perhaps this all makes sense except that you're not back there, and you're saying no. Let's start from here.
I mean, maybe.
The fact that it's in the 90s makes a lot more sense.
Well, right. I guess for me, what was weird. So he also there's like two boys that are our lead characters, I guess, but it's all from the point
Aristotle and Dante.
Correct. It's all from the point of view, really, of Aristotle.
Okay. His name is Aristotle?
Yeah.
That's a tough first name to
It's a tough
to back up.
Well, and there's talk about that
Aristotle,
in the movie.
Goldberg. It's rough. I don't know.
No, it wasn't Goldberg.
I don't know what it goes with.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
Well, so his dad is like white and a professor, and it's like a very professorly, like loosey-goosey household, right? Versus Dante's family is like more lower class and Latino, and so the contrast, but also like they fall in love despite it, right? He teaches them how to swim. It was a whole thing. There was a lot that you could have liked, but the pacing just really dragged, and it was so melodramatic. I don't know.
Didn't love it.
I didn't love it. It's not like it's garbage.
Right. Did you like it more than Love, Simon?
Yes.
Okay, great. So that's a step up.
It's a step up, but it still suffered from a lot of the same self-loathing homosexual. Like, it never grew at the end
That's
to
the
self-acceptance. And I'm like, but that's the whole point of these. There was like this weird letter writing thing. Dante moves and they're like, oh my God, I'm so... Maybe I flipped the characters, but it doesn't really matter. One's named Dante, one's named Aristotle. I don't know. They're like, oh my God, how weird that we have these weird names.
You like charity and
And pranks.
and pranks too?
But so like basically they hang out over summer, they fall in love, and then one of them has to move. They write to each other, and the gayer one is like the
more
queerer
out
one, the
one.
more out one is like, hey, I'm gay and I love you or whatever, and then it's like no response.
Oh.
Just like, but then the response is a different letter that's just like, hey, so I just found out that my brother killed a girl because he got so angry. And you're like, what? And I'm just like, where's the...
What?
What are the... I need to see these letters and the response. Like, it just didn't line up. And then I got confused. There just wasn't enough connective tissue between everything. Overall, I would say. It feels like maybe they trimmed too much. And focused long, lingering shots that didn't really tell me anything. And it's like, maybe we could have used that time more effectively to tell a story.
Read the letter over the long lingering shots.
Thank you. It's not that hard. But it wasn't garbage mama. Like, you could watch it, but I just wouldn't rush to go see it.
Mama, this is garbage. Oh. Right here. No tea, no shade.
All tea, all shade.
I will talk about the first movie that I saw at TIFF.
Great.
It was a documentary called Casa Susanna.
Okay.
Very important subject matter. It was a little depressing, unfortunately, which is, is what it is. It's about this fabulous house retreat-ish up in the upstate New York where at the time, all of the main characters referred to themselves as cross-dressers, but since then, most of them who have survived, unfortunately, have transitioned. And so it was about this sort of safe haven, and they would go and they could dress up and they would put on shows, and it was fabulous. And so on paper, I'm like,
yes,
I want to go to Casa Susanna.
The knowledge of where things go from there is kind of the depressing part.
Somewhat. It's like when you're watching
How Paris is Burning.
Yes, and Boys in the Band.
Right.
Where you're like, yes, the 70s. Oh, no, but the 80s are coming. Oh.
Yeah.
A little bit. And so it's just the facts.
Yeah.
And so I think the doc itself, for me, could have focused more on Casa Susanna, the place, what it meant. Because all of the photographs are so fab, right? It's all these 50s, and they're dressed up in to the nines, and they did some competitions, and like, oh, I did a talent show, I did this or whatever, and they have a few people that they've interviewed that were there and hadn't seen each other since and whatever. But it sort of meandered a little bit and didn't focus on it didn't have like a thesis statement by the end. It was just sort of like, here's this thing. It was powerful at moments, and some of the lead characters that they interviewed were really quite compelling, but I needed it to have a statement.
Well, I really wish
the end.
that movies like that, I do think they're important, right? And I think it's important to document that these things existed.
The fact that they found all these photos, and it was amazing. And I was saying, I was messaging with the people who sent me the link, and I was like, this needs to be a coffee table book immediately. It is!
Yes!
They were like, we did it!
I love
was like,
it.
Yes!
Yes. So often the third act is like sad and depressing.
This was really bleak.
I'm sure. I wish that the third act would go to like now and the future, and like how do we recreate this, particularly in today's current political climate of like states.
Where's Casa Susanna now?
And where's it going to have to be, unfortunately, because it's still bleak, I guess, the current political state. But nevertheless, I feel like pushing people to recreate spaces like this or to replicate it.
At the end of the movie, I should want to be like, I want to go start a Casa Susanna. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get inspired to create these safe havens for people that are fun. And so it had some interesting historical value and great photographs.
Love it.
But it was a little bit, like don't watch it if you're, fragile, in a fragile place. In a vulnerable place. Make sure you're, nice, have a strong cup of coffee, and you're like, I'm ready to start my day.
Okay.
And I'm gonna, okay. So that was Casa Susanna.
Nice.
Okay, so I watched another movie that I forgot about.
Okay, great.
Called Operation Seawolf.
Oh.
The only reason that I requested this link is because Dolph Lundgren is in it.
Great.
This was a TV movie.
What are my orders, Commander?
Operation Seawolf.
It's the American coast.
It was not good.
Oh no.
It was submarines, and I'm vaguely remembering he was a captain. He was Russian, but I don't remember what happened.
Okay.
There's submarines. The budget was terribly low. Wait, duty. Remember your duty. It's all about your duty. Apparently, they talked about duty.
I know each one of you will do your duty.
Oh, right! Because there's a fictional tale of how a German submarine was going to come, or maybe it was based on real life events. But then I wrote down, who am I rooting for? The Germans who want to blow up New York Harbor? Or the boring Americans who cannot act?
He's a very dangerous man.
All right, keep me informed of any updates.
Yes, sir.
I don't remember this movie.
That's saying something for you, because I feel like normally it's a steel trap.
I don't know.
Okay.
He was the captain of a submarine, admiral of a submarine, and they were gonna blow up New York Harbor, but something happened at the last minute where the Germans lost the war, and so they didn't.
Huh.
It was like maybe a Pearl Harbor that was gonna
Right.
happen, and then it didn't because the war ended.
They're really going to let us hunt subs? Well, we are in the hunt.
It wasn't good. Don't watch it.
Okay, great. Wow.
But it is your duty.
It's your duty. Duty.
And are they both trying not to laugh at the word duty?
Well, how about we start our biopic series? So I watched Daliland.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. It doesn't seem to be released,
No.
but it's Mary Harron's new movie.
Yes.
Ah!
Yes.
I thought you said I should watch it and I'd like it.
I do think you will.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's not perfect, and it's not great.
Okay.
There's great visuals.
Uh-huh.
It's a little wacky.
I mean, it's Dolly, so.
Ben Kingsley has a great performance.
Because it's Daliland.
Daliland, exactly. Yes, it's largely focused on his time in New York City, living at the Plaza Hotel.
Remember that Robert Pattinson movie where he played Salvador Dali? No, you don't. But did I watch it because I was obsessed with Twilight? I did.
Oh my God, of course.
I don't remember what it was called.
Great, I don't know.
But he had a mustache.
Oh, well, of course.
And was
Dali.
perhaps homosexual.
Oh, well, Dali is...
Right?
There's
I
a...
feel like there was a flirting.
There's flirting.
On a beach.
Oh.
That's it. That's all I got.
So yeah, I liked a lot about this movie. What I really appreciated about this movie, tight focus. Now, does it take us back in flashbacks to previous parts of his life and career and whatever? Yes. But mostly it's focused through the lens of this kind of one-ish year relationship between this assistant
Okay.
boy and, I mean, not boy, he's like 20 or whatever, but like young man, and Dali.
Strapping young gentleman.
Yep. Dali's wife. There's like a lot of, who's fabulous. There was a lot of really cool stuff, and I appreciated that it didn't get too grandiose, that it wasn't like, I was born in San Francisco.
Tell me everything from the beginning.
I was born in San Francisco.
Oh, from the very beginning. Okay.
The narrower the scope of the biopic, potentially the more successful.
Yes.
Unless we're talking about Steve Jobs, in which case it went too macro.
They lost us at Aaron Sorkin.
It went too, that was too much. We went too far in.
Yes.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, it went too far in.
That being said, I do feel like the story was a little simple.
Okay.
Fantastical in a sense, and that was fun. But then at a certain point, the pacing started to really lull, where you're like, well, I get the vibes. Where's the story?
Sometimes those are my favorite movies. We never know. I'm apparently the only one that liked Licorice Pizza. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. I did not care for that movie.
I was all in. I don't know. I don't know.
You do love P.T. Anderson.
I do love P.T. Anderson, and it wasn't just that. Like, I connected with it.
There you go.
Sometimes you just do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes you absolutely don't.
So, it seems to be lost in this no man's land, Daliland, of release.
Yeah.
So we'll see if and when it comes out. It was definitely watchable. I would recommend it. I don't think it's going to win Oscars.
Sure.
Let's say that. Except for maybe performance, because they were really great. Ben Kingsley was pretty great.
Is he ever bad?
I don't think so.
Even in like shit movies, he's still Ben Kingsley.
Sure.
As I die, I wake to God.
And by the winds passing swiftly in the air, and by the winds that distribute the divine power and judgment.
Is he a sir?
I
He's a
believe
sir.
he is a Sir Ben Kingsley. And I do think really that he, I don't know much about Dali's,
mannerisms.
Right, per se, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's spot on. But, it didn't seem like I was watching Ben Kingsley. I forgot it was him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
So that was really, the mark of, and I forget who plays his wife, but she's fabulous, and we'll put up the thing here, because she's in other stuff, and we're like, oh, yeah, but she was great. Lots of good stuff.
I plans to watch.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has things that I want to see.
Yeah.
Should we talk about a movie biopic that we both saw?
Yes.
So we both watched Corsage,
Yeah.
starring Vicky Krieps.
Oh.
That's how you say it.
Creeps.
Krieps, who is fabulous.
Yes.
Love Vicky Krieps. I thought this movie was okay. I loved the costumes.
Loved the costumes. Hated the production design.
Obsessed with it. Well, there wasn't much
So
to it.
it was interesting.
I guess.
In rare form, stayed for the Q&A.
Oh.
The director was kind of hilarious because she just had a lot of strong words about Sofia Coppola's not Lost in Translation, Marie Antoinette. Because she was like, oh, well, it's...
Fucking
hated
that
That's
movie.
literally what she said in the middle of this Q&A at TIFF.
She fucking hated
No,
that
but
movie?
she was like, I did not care for that movie. I really disliked it. And I was just like she made a point of saying it multiple times. I really disliked Marie Antoinette.
Probably because the entire press tour has been like, did you glean,
She
some
was saying
inspiration
that when she was
from-"
pitching it, because it's a little bit of a modern take on Empress Elizabeth of
Right.
of
Austria.
Austrian Habsburg, what was it?
Austria-Hungary?
Austro-Hungarian Empire?
I think it was just Austria.
Nevertheless, she talked then about the set design, and it seems like it was a bit budget and a bit COVID restraints.
Okay.
That they couldn't really get stuff together to fill out these spaces and to transform them or do whatever
Well, it's interesting because, so one of the things I really noticed was all of the shoe foley.
Yes.
So basically there's all these scenes of her being sad and alone and isolated because she's the empress and, all this stuff and the servants and they're all quiet. And it just reminded me how much there's not quiet anymore.
Sure.
I've got music on, I've got the TV on, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm doing this. There was a lot of silence, but heavy. Clop, 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 wooden floors,
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah.
And that makes sense if they didn't have rugs and things to round out these big spaces,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That makes kind of a lot of sense.
It does. So what was also interesting about her explanation of it was that this takes place toward the fall of the empire. And so her kind of excuse, as it were, was that
Happy accident.
a lot of the stuff was already gone. A lot of the lavish furnishings were no longer there.
Sure.
And I was like, sure. The anachronisms kind of bothered me, where she's on a modern steamliner boat or whatever at the end, and then I'm just like,
well, okay, so my biggest problem with this movie, I got kind of bored. I didn't love this story of let's feminize in a modern way this woman. It felt like she's a feminist because she's fighting the power, right?
yeah.
But in a sort of, to me, boring kind of way, because she was just depressed a lot and inactive, right? Because I looked it up, actual Emperor Elizabeth fucked off and traveled everywhere, left her kids,
Right.
had a bunch of extramarital affairs, didn't really follow the norms of society, which in some ways is feminist, right? Well, I'm doing the opposite of what is approved upon or whatever. Did not kill herself, was assassinated.
Right.
Like all of these things
That's
that
fair.
were so much more interesting in my mind that they then made it less interesting and
Because it was too sad and constrained.
yeah, and made her less interesting in that way. And so I didn't love it. I thought Vicky Creeps was great.
Yeah.
And the costumes were fabulous.
Yeah.
Like that purple fringed number when she went to the madhouse and she's got this like stupid ridiculous hat on and there's like, you know, hysterical women tied to beds and it's very upsetting. I liked some of it. I got kind of bored and I was like, we get it. You're stuck.
Yeah.
Like, let's move on.
I get that.
And
I
then
get
when
that.
she just killed herself
Right.
at the end, I was like, oh, that sucks. And then that wasn't even true.
I hate that.
I was so mad. I was like, wait, what?
I don't understand what this is about biopics making shit up.
Major thing. It's not just like, oh, we weren't there for the conversation. We don't know the subtle intent of what they meant by this.
Right.
It's
How did
like
she really react? You know?
factual things that we...
Right. That you can easily look up. I mean, I didn't. Good for you.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
That just bothered me. So then I really turned a little sour on it because I was like, what the fuck? Like, I would much rather her have been like, goodbye, family, fuck off. I'm going to Italy to like fuck people and do my own thing. And maybe that's selfish, maybe it isn't, but I can hold two things at once. A woman who's selfish and beauty obsessed and all of those things, and who also can be flawed and feminist and powerful and strong and all of like I can hold both of those at once. And they only gave me one thing to hold.
I guess that's true.
And so I didn't love it.
Okay, that's fair.
But the costumes, that
costumes.
purple fringed, I mean,
God,
I was
yeah.
like, what is this?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with this.
Also, Vicky Creeps. I really do have to say, like, I just felt like
She's-
she really
she's
carried the movie for me.
fantastic.
I remember leaving and being like, all I could think of was her. And I
Yeah.
felt like her performance had a lot of nuance. It felt like she knew who that character was. Like she had a fully realized person in her brain that she had taken on. Did they take liberties? Apparently, yes.
Dramatic.
And I'm trying to remember what they said about that or not in the Q&A.
I did like that we were seeing sort of a peek behind the performance or the facade of royalty, right?
Yes.
So like the husband, the king or the emperor comes in, he's got these huge mutton chops on, peels them off. And I was just like, wait, this is kind of great. And that sort of performative of, I mean.
Or when she has her
so-
maid pretend to be her.
When she has her maid pretend to be her, so annoying, but it's very like, you know, oh, it's an Instagram filter. Like it's a modern day Instagram filter, right? Or like a historical Instagram filter where it's like, oh, I'm putting on this like different persona to the public and we're seeing behind the veil and what's really going on. And so there was a few things in there that I was like, oh, that's kind of fun to see. You know, it's not accurate, or maybe it is, I don't know, but it gave me a little like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
okay.
It certainly imagines a lot of things, and it was a different approach to these kinds of movies than just, oh, the Queen or whatever. You know, that's a show, but
there was a movie.
There was a movie.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of thing was just like, and then here we are. Oh, the pomp of the, like, yes, the outfits are always usually stunning then.
Right.
But that's about it. You know, it's kind of like glossed over.
This does fit in the category of our PhD thesis on women in film getting off on horses. I have to go ride and work out these things, these feelings. I gotta go riding. And it was
I mean, horses are therapeutic.
Oh yes, but just that whole like Marnie of it all.
The Marnie of it all, absolutely.
Oh, Borio, if you want to bite somebody, bite me.
To go back to the purple look, because it really was stunning. The fact that she had matching candied violets to give to the mental patients.
I know.
But it wasn't played for laughs,
No.
and I think it should have been.
I think maybe a little bit
Not
more.
like ha-has,
No,
but
just like
that sort of, maybe it was. I laughed.
I
don't know.
yeah, you know, like the irony of it or whatever.
Like, oh, but she was so sort of high and mighty all the time about it. I don't know.
She was a little too stick up her assy all the time or something. It reminds me of a lot of ways of The Great, the show.
I still haven't watched it.
You're fine.
Yeah.
But there's a similar-ish kind of scene where she goes in her like fabulous outfit to the war-besieged troops.
Sure.
And is like, would you like a macaron? You know, and it's like, no, he's like bleeding out. And like, what do you do? You know, it's just like that juxtaposition. Where
A
you're just
macaron or a macaron?
not a macaroon, a macaron. And that does a similar kind of anachronistic, like, the language is anachronistic.
Right.
Where you're like, oh, but they don't actually talk like this.
Sure.
Anyway, they're all interesting. I'm like, at least they're doing something different with these types of stories than just like, and here's the sad story of the woman who was kind of crazy.
Right, yes. I do think after watching Tar.
Yeah.
Tar, don't make biopics. Just.
Isn't Tar a biopic? You've heard about people that think that it's based off of a real person.
Because they're dumb? Okay.
Because she's so fully realized that you're like, but is this
supposed to be a real person?
Is that a real person?
I'm just not into classical music.
Yeah,
I haven't
did
heard
she
of it.
ECOT? Is that really true?
It just pisses me off when we take historical figures and change things that are fact.
Yes.
Well, I have a perfect segue for this.
Love it.
I will complete my sentence and then we will talk about something else. When you could just write a new story, perhaps inspired by that historical person.
Absolutely.
That you can embellish as much as you want and really have more freedom to tell a story specifically.
Yep.
Speaking of people being misremembered in history.
Oh boy.
I watched The Lost King.
Ah, yes.
Speaking of The Queen, Stephen Frears directed it. He did The Queen and like those movies, like Philomena.
That's right.
I was convinced he had directed Woman of Gold, that like Helen Mirren.
Woman in Gold,
but
yeah.
he did not. But like
vibes.
Those movies, right? You know.
Yeah.
There was actually a few older ones that I was like, oh, before this period of
right. He got into like a certain
he
bent.
did, yeah. He did this movie I've only seen because Tim Roth is in it called The Hit. That I remember being really stylized and fun. He did My Beautiful Laundrette, Dangerous Liaisons. Like there was more sort of juice going on back in the day. And then he did like Mrs. Henderson Presents. With that like Frances McDormand is the maid and she goes and Lee Pace is there and he's hot and Amy Adams and it's like it's Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris but it's Mrs. Henderson Presents.
Gotcha.
And it's that. So he does those movies.
Okay, fun.
Florence Foster Jenkins. You're getting the vibe. This is the vibe, right?
Yep.
So it's like between and that was nice nowadays. He also did a movie I was strangely obsessed with called Hero with Andy Garcia and Gina Davis and Dustin Hoffman. I watched it a lot. I don't know why. I don't know.
And I don't know why. I don't know why.
Cool.
It feels like it should be like a Ron Howard movie.
I get that.
Or something. Anywho's, The Lost King, starring Sally Hawkins, who...
Are you a big Sally Hawkins fan?
Are you not?
I don't think I like her.
Okay. I think she's pretty great. I wouldn't necessarily say I'd see a movie solely because of her, but I do think she does a lot of work and she carries this particular film on her back.
Okay.
Steve Coogan's there.
Right.
This was a perfectly fine Sunday afternoon. Hey mom, you want to watch a movie that's British and somewhat historical and nice?
Okay.
Sure. Let's watch The Lost King. So basically it's about this woman who's this amateur historian who is trying to discover, she becomes obsessed with Richard III.
Like you do.
Like you do.
You know Richard III.
Vaguely.
The hump, the arm.
Nope, I didn't.
Was Richard actually deformed? Historically, we know he was born with severe curvature of the spine. There was some paralysis of the left hand and the right foot. Olivier chose to play the right hand and the left foot. God knows why.
Oh, you've never... Oh, okay. So famously a villain of Shakespeare.
But also a British king.
Also in reality a British king. But about 100 years after he died, Shakespeare wrote this play.
Sure.
Where he, was killing kids and he was a villain and, now is the winter of my discontent, all of these things. And it's been aped and aped and aped hundreds of times.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York.
So she becomes obsessed with him and becomes this amateur historian who starts to discover a lot of that was Tudor propaganda.
Oh.
And perhaps he wasn't the villain everyone thought he was, and nobody knows where he's buried. No one knows where his grave is.
Yeah.
I won't give too much away, but they're making the movie because they found his body. I mean, there's no like, oh, well, we didn't find it, so I guess let's tell that story. And there's a bit about her being pushed over because she's a woman, because she's an amateur. I thought they did a nice sort of portrayal of, so she has chronic fatigue syndrome. Oh. And it's just sort of a thing speckled throughout. It's not, you know, like her whole life. Right. She's dealing with it, but she sort of has to keep saying, it's a real thing. You know, she has to keep justifying herself. Sure. And that comes across in her character of like, no, trust me, I have researched this. You have to listen to me, archaeologist man. You know, like it's her trying to assert herself. Right. So it's perfectly nice. She does a great job. I thought her and Steve Coogan are divorced in it, but it was a nice portrayal of just like a mature, sort of amicable divorce that you don't always see. Sure. They're really trying to work it out for the kids. And I was just like, that's nice. Yeah. I don't always see that. Yeah. It's always like, oh, that they were dead or whatever, or we hate each other or whatever it is. Yeah. So, perfectly fine. Cool. The score was pretty bad. Oh, right. Alexander Desplat. I don't know if he thought he was scoring an animated film. It certainly felt like it. Maybe the movie was boring and he decided to jazz it up. But it was it was a lot. Okay. Oh, I will say, I don't think it handled time well. Okay. It was very much like, I discovered it on a weekend. That's how it felt. I don't know how long it took her to discover this. The kind of the general consensus is some people or researchers kind of had thought the same thing she thought of where it was buried. Gotcha. But she showed the initiative and the gumption to say, let's get the grant, let's dig it up, let's do it.
The cheek, the nerve, the gall, the audacity, and the gumption.
And she sort of put it together and made it happen. Gotcha. And so I think they could have leaned more into that and less, I'm a woman who has vibes and feelings. Sure. It was a little bit like, I just feel like that's where it is. And I'm like, no. Yes and no, like, sure, but also...
Wait, this isn't National Treasure. Let's, like...
I feel like they did her a disservice in making her seem like a hysterical, like, woman who... A little bit.
Right. Who was just feeling it and got lucky more than, like...
Yes.
Who knew what she was doing and took the initiative to make it happen.
Raise those funds. Like, you know, that's a big deal. And so
Sure.
I think they could have just leaned into that a little bit more. Like, she's speaking to, like, an apparition that's Richard III the whole time. And you're like... Did this really happen? Is this a device of the film? Right. You're kind of making her seem unhinged. I don't quite know. I don't know why people don't utilize a montage. Sure. Tell me that 6 months have passed and she has been doggedly trying to get these funds. Yeah. Whatever it is.
Business is booming, montage it.
It just felt a little bit like, oh yeah, we did that on a 3-day weekend.
Interesting.
A little bit.
Okay.
So anyway, that was The Last King.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of fabulous British actresses and a movie that I hated. I watched Empire of Light.
The Sam Mendes movie?
The Sam Mendes movie. Perhaps a Freudian slip. Cinematography by Richard Deakins.
Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
Well, he is one of 5 cinematographers people can name.
Right, sure.
So, you know.
There's that. Anyway, so Empire of Light, set on in Brighton, on the sea.
At the Pavilion?
At the Pavilion. No, not the Pavilion. No, at the Empire Theater on the boardwalk or whatever.
Okay.
That's like slowly dying, right?
Sure. What year does it take place in?
I want to say 80s.
Okay.
Margaret Thatcher.
So 80s.
And
mostly,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah. And so like the theater's kind of dying, it's struggling, right? They like shut off a whole upper level of it and whatever. It used to be bigger, but now those days have faded or whatever the fuck, right? This was so navel-gazy of like, film is so important and film can save everything, including deep, deep trauma of sexual abuse from a young age and racism and abuse. And you're just like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And it was like, yes, it was beautiful to look at. To what end? To what end?
To what end? To what end?
Why?
Was it long?
It was long. I will say, I mean, part of me really kind of feels like this is fully appropriate for this movie. Watching it at TIFF, 2/3 of the way in, this whole heavy scene, really just serious.
Powerful.
Olivia Colman is giving her Oscar speech.
I'm at the cinema.
Well, she's not at the cinema, she's at home.
No, you are.
Oh, right, I'm at the cinema.
cinema.
Yes. She is lamenting to this young lover of hers that, about being abused as a child. Her father would rape her and, sexually abuse her. And in the middle of her speech, everyone's phones start blaring the emergency alert sound.
Oh no!
Yeah,
That's
it's just like
really took the air out of the room.
It's just in the middle of the speech, and it's just like a cacophony of the theater slowly. Beep 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 beep.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it just was
bleak.
I wouldn't say, I said it's not cynical per se, but it's really depressing.
Yeah.
And what was frustrating
Sometimes cynical is fun.
I would prefer that because rather than being cynical, it was like, well, life can be really shitty, but movies are beautiful. And they make Olivia Colman cry. And you're like, who gives a fuck?
Somehow, heartbreak feels
good
in a place like this, Andrew. I mean, it's right there. Obviously, this movie's amazing.
Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Yeah, that sounds heavy.
It was heavy. It was very cinephile, navel-gazy. Movies can fix everything. But just the story was bad.
Okay.
Overall, the story was bad. It was overly dramatic. It didn't make any sense. I didn't care for it.
Okay.
The acting was good, sure.
Yeah,
they were all good. The lead, Michael Ward, was very good, but it just kind of, I wrote down, I said, what's the overall message? Life is traumatic and your boss sexually assaults you, but movies are good?
Oh no.
It was just a lot.
Wait, so her dad owns the theater?
No. Her dad sexually assaulted her as a child. Then she's had a series of abuses throughout her entire life.
Oh.
And then her boss, Colin Firth,
oh no,
sexually assaults her. I mean, he's like, come to my office and give me a handy. And she doesn't really enjoy it, but she likes it's like a weird, stupid thing. I was like, I don't like any of this.
Yeah,
I don't like any of this.
Yeah.
And then his wife is there, and then she
watching
confronts.
the handy?
No, sorry.
Oh.
His wife exists.
I was like,
what?
No,
that'd be different.
I'm not.
That'd be different.
It's probably still a no, but I'm more intrigued. Yeah.
Olivia Colman confronts his wife at this big ass screening that they do where not the king, but some high dignitary comes to visit and go see, and they're all excited. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Everyone's all dressed up, and she's like, by the way, your husband assaults me all the time. And she's like, what? Fuck you. And then there's like, you're crazy. And then she goes crazy, and then we don't see her for a while because she literally goes to a mental.
I
think so.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what's going on here, buddy?
He seems a little sad since him and Kate broke up.
Kate
Winslet.
Oh.
Yeah, they were married forever.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we also both watched Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
The new, what's that? The guy is famous.
Yes, he is. Osterland?
The guy who did Force du Jour.
Force majeure.
What's force?
Force du jour.
I don't know, what's that?
That sounds delicious. I'll have that.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
What is the soup du jour?
It's the soup of the day.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
He did Force Majeure. He did The Square, which I haven't seen, but I heard is great.
That terrible Tom Hanks Emma Watson movie?
That's The Circle.
Okay.
And I think that was a show. Maybe it was a square. Maybe it was a movie. The Square is about the art scene, I believe. He likes to do kind of social commentary pieces, if you will.
Very that. Yeah.
Which this one is particularly that.
Yes. It's his first English language movie too.
Oh, interesting. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Taking on, the rich.
Yes.
The very upstairs, downstairs of it all.
So we disagree on this one.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
Okay.
I just didn't love it. For me, it was another one of those, I am quite into this and invested and I like it. And I think it climaxed in the middle.
Yes.
And the last hour, at 45, I was like, we're spinning our wheels here.
We're spinning our wheels a little.
And
the end.
I thought it got really heavy-handed. The pacing for me, it just slowed to a halt to the point where I got disinterested.
Interesting. I get that a little. I feel like the pacing did die down after some death, and you kind of got stuck.
It became less focused.
Yes, it did.
Like because, okay, so it opens and we're making all these comments on models and, oh, your triangle of sadness is right here, yes. Yeah. And I was like, I'm into all of this. I'm very much into
you're H&M.
H&M is here again, yay! Balenciaga, and H&M, Balenciaga, and H&M.
Okay, now you're
catalog versus,
yeah.
Really was like, yes.
Hilarious.
Then there's a really long dialogue scene between them where
at dinner.
All of these nuances are happening between your social life on your phone and between this and that and microaggressions and we're doing this and you're manipulating me into thinking this and there was so much happening and it was like my dinner with Andre, it was like this like thick and juicy scene and I was like, I'm in.
Yep.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
And it was like every scene for me was less effective as it went on. And so there was stuff that I really liked. But but by the time we got to the island, I was like, I'm just less interested.
I guess spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it.
So I would say if you at all are interested in the things we've been discussing, you can certainly watch it knowing that for me, it really paced down, but Andrew would wholeheartedly recommend.
I would wholeheartedly recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. I do think it does slow down in pace, but sometimes that's okay because there was a lot to process. I think if you liked the menu, you would definitely like this because I think, well, maybe not definitely, but I think you should watch this because I think this is a lot more successful in the way that it approaches all of these topics than the menu was, because I don't know what the menu had to say still.
I think the menu was narrower. So for me, what it was saying was more precise, and it wasn't as grandiose and heavy. It was a more specific thing.
But I do think if you liked the menu, you should watch this.
Yeah.
There were moments where I was like rolling on the floor laughing.
Really?
You were not?
No.
Oh, I mean, most of the scene on the boat. Oh, so
there was
spoiler
some
alert.
stuff. I mean, okay, so like, yes, when the woman is like, but the sails are dirty. You have to, can you clean the sails? This is a motorized boat. We don't have any.
Yeah, we'll clean those. So Woody Harrelson.
We're gonna clean them. I thought it really went into manifesto territory when they're drunk and they're on
manifesto, like Kate Blanchett.
No, like in general, like a manifesto, like in the not that I mean yes, because that was a series of manifestos, but like once we got the Russian guy and him,
that
drunk
went on too long.
On the mics, and I'm spouting this quote about that, and I'm like it just sort of started to linger too long for me and became, I get it.
I mean, I definitely was like, someone wrestled that out of them, but it felt like this was going to be like this was the end of them, right? Like they're going to sink this fucking ship.
And then it did.
No,
well, I mean, in some other way, it really did, literally climax in an explosion.
Well, right. But I loved that it had nothing to do with the storm. Like this whole.
Well, I mean, I think it had to do with the fact that the storm maybe distracted everybody and gave them the opportunity. Spoiler alert: if you want to watch this movie, turn this off. Pirates come and take over the ship and blow it up.
Right, and perhaps like the security was distracted because there was so much going on and they were sick and it was crazy. And if there had been a better captain of the ship that was not a drunkard and that was paying attention, perhaps that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Who's to say necessarily, but yes.
Yeah.
But for me, watching it, I just was like, this is crazy. Like, oh my God.
For me, the climax of Mr. Creosote in Meaning of Life.
Good afternoon, sir, and how are we today? Better. Better? Better get a bucket. I'm going to throw up. Merci, Gaston. I haven't finished. The new bucket and the cleaning woman.
All of the barfing and the seasickness, that was for me like the height of like, this is working and crazy.
And also kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it was nuts.
But also, like, because they've set up these people as such, like...
That was still successful for me.
Yeah,
it was mainly after that, it just Peter.
I guess I felt like the island part was still really real.
It wasn't not real. I
thought
just
it was
became
well written.
less interested in what was happening. It felt like
Really? Because I liked that it then flips the whole script on the first half of it, right? Where now he's the one that has the sexual power that she's normally so used to having.
Yeah.
And he's doing whatever he wants to do and she's getting angry.
It was all there. I just wasn't as interested.
Okay.
For, whatever reason. Oh, and now she's corrupted by power. Let's watch this play out.
You give me something and I give you something in return.
Maybe had she shown up more in the first half?
Right.
I'm not quite sure what it was. It felt like 3 acts that were somewhat separated.
Sure.
And there's been a few movies like that this year. Like The Barbarian did that. You didn't watch it, you won't like it. It flips it on you and flips it on you. And it's effective to a certain degree.
Right.
I thought the satire slowed down on the island. Like any humor started to drain and drain and drain, and it became more depressing.
Yes, it was a little bleaker.
And so
until then, you find out that they've been on an island with a beach club. And
it was very Lovewrecked. Terrible Amanda Bynes movie.
Great.
Just like, what? I'm sorry, did you just watch Lovewrecked and now you wrote your fancy Palme d'Or script?
We're marooned.
Would like the color?
Now, we're doomed. There's nothing she won't do for him.
We're gonna live off the land.
Except telling the truth.
We're still on St. Lucia's.
Lovewrecked.
Surely not.
Maybe.
Maybe. A recommend and a soft recommend.
So shifting gears entirely.
Great.
I watched Moonage Daydream.
I want to watch it.
Do you? I mean,
it's David Bowie documentary.
Well, I know, but I don't know. I never know with you where there's certain things that you hold so dear that you don't.
It's a documentary.
It is a documentary. However,
if it's a biopic about David Bowie and it's not starring Tilda Swinton, I'm not watching it.
Absolutely not. It is a documentary. It's very stylized.
Okay.
I saw it in IMAX, which was literally overwhelming.
Okay.
I had to close my eyes and retreat for moments in time.
That's a lot for you.
It was a lot
because
for me.
You have a way higher tolerance than I do for that sort of thing.
Yes. There's a lot of visuals. Some of them are more successful than others.
Okay.
And there's a lot of sound mixing that I don't know if you will appreciate.
Okay.
Because it is taking liberties with his music. Not in any sort of extreme way.
Not in a Glee way.
No. But there's layering of sounds and songs on top of it. It's not just and it's not like a typical documentary.
Okay.
However, it is very fascinating and the footage is spectacular.
I'm probably here for the outfits and
yes. And the clips and the interviews with him are so great.
I'm probably
He's so brilliant. He was so brilliant. Wow. So I think you would like a lot about it. I don't think you'll like the film, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But I think there's a lot there that you'll like.
Right.
So it's worth you watching, but I don't think you'll like it.
Just watch with David Bowie. Oh God, I watched Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence.
Oh.
Which, on the surface it seemed, is that a fun Christmas movie? It is not.
Oh no.
It's a very realistic and depressing, but very good POW movie about POW camp in Japan. And there are multiple real-time scenes where people commit seppuku. It was intense, guys. It was intense.
Yeah,
but David Bowie's there. And it's sad, but he's great. And the score is fantastic.
There you go.
So don't watch it.
Okay, no.
But I was like, fuck. It was one of those where I was like, God damn, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta whew. Okay.
Yeah, so, David Bowie, I don't know why it wasn't called Bowie, because that was the poster was Bowie, and then it was Moonage Daydream.
I mean, that's obviously the song, but maybe it's was that the experience? Did you feel like you had a Moonage Daydream?
I guess, yes. That was the intent, was very otherworldly, very there's a lot of
Was there a big reveal at the end that he actually was from outer space?
I wish.
Okay.
Well, there's actually a really...
We found this footage where he actually landed in an egg and was hatched by his...
No.
You're an alien!
No, but there was a lot of really cool stuff about like you should watch it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think I'll hate it. I'm planning on watching it. Maybe I need to be in a proper headspace.
Yeah, be in a receptive headspace. And
Taking it
also
in.
a calm space.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, it was so loud and so visually like
Right.
like seizure inducing.
It's like the tunnel scene in Willy Wonka.
Yes. Yes.
Hang on, darling. Just close your eyes and hang on tight.
What is this, a freak out?
So I also watched Pearl, the sequel prequel to X, which I adored. I think my expectations were too high because I loved X so
Your
much.
expectations?
My expectations. I didn't hate Pearl. I just didn't love it. And I so expected to.
Right.
So, and maybe that's my fault.
Because you loved X.
And I really loved Ty West as a filmmaker.
Right.
And I was interested in the origin story of Pearl. So basically in X, she's a very elderly woman.
Okay.
And in Pearl, it's her when she's a young girl.
Sure.
And we're sort of figuring out how she got here. So spoiler alert for both X and Pearl. I don't think you're going to watch them.
Probably not.
You're fine. Although you might like X.
Okay.
But, it's not a surprise. She's the killer. Okay, so spoiler alert. I mean, oops. And, come back or don't. So anyway, I was really excited to, find out, okay, how did this woman... So X has a lot of sort of stuff about aging and desirability and also psychopathy. It's there's a lot going on with Pearl, right?
Okay.
And I was also really interested in Howard, her husband, who, in the movie in X, presumably they've been together since 1918, and now I think it was 1918. Yeah, 19, because there was lots of talk about the Spanish flu, and he's in the war and all of that stuff, and so they've been together, married since then, right?
Okay.
And it's 70-something in X, I forget exactly. And so I'm going, my God, how did we get here? She's a psychopath who likes to murder people. They've stayed together this whole time. He covers it up for her. What's this relationship, right? So
Very phantom thread of it all.
The phantom thread of it all, right? And so and maybe that was my fault, but I was like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by this relationship. And unfortunately, they decided that he was going to be gone the whole movie.
Oh,
He's in the war.
He's in the war.
So I didn't love that because I wanted to know. And maybe it's just he's a pushover, she's crazy, and that's the whole story. But I want something more than that, right?
Sure.
So Pearl opens. It's 1918. Everyone's wearing masks and they're all very fearful. And she's really bored because she's young and her parents are old and she wants to get the fuck out of here. And her fiance, Howard, is off in the trenches. And all of the men, except for a really hot projectionist, he was really hot. And I was like, oh, hey, what's going on, projectionist? Lots of cinema. Let me show you the dirty movies, Pearl.
Oh.
Because Pearl's also a nasty bitch. And I wanted to get into that. I mean,
sure.
Spoiler alert. She dry humps a scarecrow in this movie, and I was like, I'm sorry, into what's happening here. This was another movie where it was diminishing returns for me. I was like, okay, I'm willing to go on this slow burn and it just never quite got that interesting to me for some reason. X is very much commenting on pornography, 70s slasher movies, that era of politics, all of that stuff, evangelicals, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it looks like a 70s slasher horror movie. That's the style of it. This takes place in 1918, but it's very much designed to look like a big, glamorous, golden age of Hollywood, Wizard of Oz musical. And so for me, the look of it and the time frame didn't make sense. And I know that probably shouldn't bother me, but I was kind of bothered.
I get that.
I should have been, not that you could really make a movie that looks like vaudeville, but I was like, I don't know, there's a disconnect where I'm going, you're making all of these, she fucks a scarecrow, you're making all these really specific Wizard of Oz references. And it has yet to come out. I guess the books had come out.
But still.
So I didn't love that. Mia Goth is very good. and everyone's talking about, there's this scene where she gives this really long monologue.
I can't be all by myself anymore. It's too hard.
It's great and all, but she's doing this thing where her voice is gravelly.
I hate what it feels like to be me and not you.
The whole movie, and I, at that point in the movie, was over it.
We can love each other. I'll do that for you. If you really meant all that, till death do us part.
It was driving me crazy. It was driving me crazy.
I thought I hated her, but I just want to feel safe too.
Anyway, so everyone's talking about, oh, this monologue, this
Right,
this
and
one.
I can't listen to it
And I was
anymore.
like, oh, okay, I'm really tired of it. You know, stuff happens that she gradually, there's still more talk of aging. Like, it's depressing. Her father is like completely incapacitated from maybe a stroke or something. I don't know. She's taking care of him.
He's still in there.
She's in a depressing place,
Right.
you know, like she can't go anywhere. There's a pandemic, her fiance, everything's sad. And she wants to escape to, you know, Hollywood to
Right.
be a dancer or whatever.
Gotcha.
But instead she starts murdering people for various reasons. That is in fact why I'm wearing the shirt. Spoiler alert. And I don't know, I just
Because it's based on true events?
No.
Oh.
There's an alligator.
Oh.
Crocodile? Alligator. Like basically the movie ended where I wanted it to begin almost.
Right. You're like, can you maybe
So,
focus
like-
on like 1919 to 24?
Maybe, I don't know exactly, because we didn't get, for me, a great explanation for why she suddenly snaps. I mean, everything was horribly depressing, but that's a big switch.
Right,
You know, that's like I mean, I guess she did kill a goose. I don't know. I just didn't.
It's a big leap from goose to human.
To parents.
Oh, Allie Borden. Can't chop your mama up.
Lizzie?
Yeah.
Now, they got his daughter Lizzie on a charge of homicide. Some folks say she didn't do it, others say of course she did. But we all agree Miss Lizzie B is a problem kind of kid. Cause you can't chop your papa up in Massachusetts.
Up in Massachusetts. So yes, and they wanted this big dramatic. So the end is she's killed numerous people. Howard's, when is he going to come home? The whole thing is like, she's going to see him coming down the street. She keeps thinking she's kind of seeing soldiers. Like she wants him to come home. She comes home. And they wanted this big dramatic, like, ending where he comes home finally and she's set up the whole dinner table with all the bodies.
Oh.
And I was just like,
Like they're sitting to eat, or like, okay.
like Tea Party style.
Right.
And I'm just like, we saw it in Apartment Zero. I mean, oops, sorry, spoilers for Apartment Zero. And I feel like, was it April Fool's Day? Or there's some other horror movies. I've seen this before.
Right.
And I just went, oh.
How long had it been since she'd killed who?
You know, a few days. And then they did that thing where it's like, and now the credits roll as they like did a thing where she holds a take, and they thought it was cooler than I thought it was personally.
Gotcha.
And Howard's like, "Bleh." I don't know. I wanted the story after this. How she has to explain this somehow. And, and they have stayed married for
70 years, So then, yeah, that is
Has she been killing people? I would assume she's been killing people throughout
their relationship.
Now it's a thing?
Yeah.
Or not? Why didn't she ever get out of town if now she's killed all the people in her way?
If she's free from the people holding her
How did
back.
she not get arrested for
Was it that
these
she didn't want to kill her
things?
husband who's now in the way?
Why didn't she kill him? Because he, in theory, would be in the way.
Right.
He didn't go to the police. Did they discard all the bodies together?
Right.
And no one's asking?
No one said,
One
hey,
of
what
the
happened to your
bodies
parents?
is his sister.
Oh.
And they don't.
Wow. So then you never get to see
Nothing.
like a reaction of like, you fucking killed my sister.
Or I like it?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What's going on with Howard and Pearl? I want to get into it.
Sure.
I'm so happy you're home.
It just didn't come together for me. But I will say I have noticed this trend.
Okay.
That in recent horror movies, the ultimate horror, not even in horror movies, the ultimate horror is naked older women.
Oh.
It's really become a thing. X, it was all about, oh, look at this naked old lady.
Rude.
Ish. Like it was commenting on the movie itself wasn't like, look at this naked old lady. But Spoiler alert for a few horror movies up ahead. Sorry. Barbarian. It was all about, look at this crazy naked body. Tar had, remember the woman in the apartment that's that's the most sort of viscerally shocking thing in the movie, right? You go, Triangle of Sadness, the woman on the floor. I mean, she wasn't fully naked, but there is something going on in horror where, and maybe it's part of the MPAA because they can't show a dick, but I think also it's because people judge female bodies so much harsher than male bodies.
Yeah.
There's something happening in horror where it's like this ultimate horror is aging and old women.
Right.
Crazy ladies in the attic, you know. It too. Crazy, I'm naked, look at my shaking CGI tits. Woo. Right. Actually, well, I mean, Stephen King does have a long history of that in The Shining, Oh my God, she's an old woman now. My brain has melted, Couldn't possibly. That's horrifying. So maybe it's not too new, but just I've been noticing it. It's a reaction to something.
Yeah, interesting.
Although I will say that Banshees of Inisherin did do the opposite and did show some things that the MPA won't. Oh. It was wild. I was like, okay, well,
Daddy, I'll kill us if we wake him and it's been wanking.
Maybe just nakedness in general is viscerally.
Sure.
Is
it Colin Firth?
No.
Not Firth. Farrell.
Farrell. I knew what you meant. No, it's in a. It's sort of like.
Oh, gotcha.
Like naked old bodies. Like there's something happening. Maybe it's more an American cinema.
Maybe it's that so many of these directors are now aging themselves and it's their fear.
Yeah. So anyway, that was Pearl.
There you go. Sounds like a journey.
It was a journey. They're making Maxine, which is about the final girl in X now going to Hollywood and presumably becoming a porn star, and things happen. Not sure.
Okay, fulfilling the original goal of Pearl.
In some ways,
living the dream that she could not quite have. Well.
Wow. So that was quite a bit of cinema.
Yes. Make sure, including, oh my God, honestly, do not watch Empire of Light. You will absolutely hate it.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah, you will hate it. Anyway, make sure to check out our TIFF playlist for the other movies that we reviewed, and we'll be back next year with more TIFF stuff. So cheers, some good movies, some decent movies, and some not so good ones.
Cheers.